So I've always really enjoyed the character of Thor, and I've always wanted to read Walter Simonson's run on Thor, which was collected in an omnibus, I think, either last year or the year before. And it was kindly sent by Gambit896 here on YouTube, the Mighty Thor Volume 1 by Walter Simonson, so this is the first few issues of his run. And I've read the book, and I have to say I really enjoyed this book. It was a great take on the character of Thor, and probably one of my favourite depictions of the character as well. I think Walter Simonson completely finds Thor's voice straight away and really writes the character very well. Now, Walter Simonson actually wrote and drew this, and this I believe is the same remastered colour version that the omnibus had a couple of years ago. So basically we start off, the first few pages we see a giant sword being constructed in outer space, as you can see here. Straight away you can see from the artwork, the colours pop. The artwork in this is absolutely outstanding and completely suits the character of Thor. It's so colourful, so sharp. I absolutely love the artwork in this. So the first few issues follow the plot of Thor. While he's on Earth, he's assumed the identity of his his secret identity, Donald Blake. Basically gets pulled up by S.H.I.E.L.D., taken to their helicarrier and told, look, we have a problem. There's a ship heading towards us that is eating stars on its way to fuel itself, and we need you to go out and stop it. So Thor flies out to this ship in outer space, finds it, and is confronted by the character of Beta Ray Bill, who is this character on the cover here. Now, I have to say that when we were first introduced to Beta Ray Bill, I did think for a second, like, oh my... is he going to be a bit of your sort of cliched villain? As you can see there, it's a better sort of view of him. And what I want to commend Walt Simonson on doing is making Beta Ray Bill one of the most lovable and tragic characters I've read in a long time. Now, I won't go into the specifics of why he's there or what he's doing or why he's doing what he's doing. Beta Ray Bill is a completely tragic character, and during his first confrontation with Thor, what I find quite interesting is he actually beats Thor. He beats Thor in a fair fight. Basically, once Beta Ray Bill picks up Mjolnir as his sort of prize of the fight, he turns into, what do you want to call it, Beta Ray Thor, as you can see there. So after the fight, Odin mistakes Beta Ray Bill for Thor and takes him off to Asgard, and Thor follows shortly thereafter, and they all get talking about, you know, why are you here, Beta Ray Bill, and all the rest of it. Odin basically sets them off on a journey to another planet to have a fight and says, look, winner gets to keep Mjolnir and the power of Thor. Beta Ray Bill wins again. Beta Ray Bill is not to be messed with. Anyway, following that, and I won't ruin the sort of outcome of the story, needless to say that Beta Ray Bill is not going to take Thor's power away from him, but it's very interesting, and what I really love about this run is Walt Simonson takes Beta Ray Bill and just makes him such a tragic character, makes him such a likeable character, and makes him somebody that Thor is happy to team up with, and who we as the reader are happy to see Thor team up with. They make a great team, and the outcome of that story was wholly satisfying and really well written. We then have another sort of mini arc, and this is another thing that I like about Walt Simonson is his arcs tend to bleed into each other. So before the end of one and the start of another, elements from the next will appear in the one previously, and you know, they sort of bleed into each other and stuff, and I really like that. But the next arc is basically about a giant dragon character who wants revenge on Odin and Thor. I believe he's called, is it Fafnir? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. A lot of the names in this I do find quite tricky to pronounce. But we basically have him wanting revenge and tearing up New York, and Thor having to save the day. You also have a female character whose name sort of escapes me at the moment, going down to Earth to meet Thor with, you know, when he's sort of assuming his secret identity, his not so secret identity, and trying to make him fall in love using potions and all the rest of it. So you have that going on. You then have a wonderful story arc where Thor meets the last Viking, a character called, I believe, Elif or Elif. Again, not really overly sure how to pronounce the names in this, but that again is such a touching story. That sort of is the latter half of Fafnir's story arc, where Thor meets this Viking and fights alongside him, And again, I thought that was such a well done story, because, not to go into too much detail, but the Viking lures Thor to him so that he may die at the hand of a god. You know, the Viking is immortal, and he thinks, I want to die at the hands of a god, I want to die fighting a god, and tries to trick Thor into killing him. Needless to say, they end up working together to fight this giant dragon. But I have to say that I absolutely just loved that story arc. I thought it was really quite touching. I think what Walt Simonson does really well is that he injects a certain sense of humour into the story, but you couldn't pinpoint really how. And I think the reason is that he plays everything in this completely straight, with a straight face and without really a hint of irony. And in doing so, you know, a lot of the situations that these characters find themselves in are inherently funny. I actually found myself laugh out loud a couple of times in this, and the amount of times where the dialogue referring to, you know, Thor's hammer could be read different ways is like, that must be intentional. Like, there is a lot of dialogue in there that you just think, like, this is, you know, the euphemisms are everywhere in this book, and I just think, like, in playing it completely straight, they make it funny, but they never make fun of it. They make it funny, but they don't make fun of it, and I think that's quite a difficult line to tread, but he treads it perfectly well, and there's enough in there to really lighten the tone of what could have been a pretty heavy book. A lot of the subject matter in this book is fairly hefty, but it has such a lightness of touch almost, that it just makes it a pleasure to read. I have to say, honestly, this is such a great book. I'm going to be reading the rest of Walt Simonson's run as it's published in trade paperbacks. I believe there's going to be 5 in total. As I said, this is the first one. Absolutely loved the book. The actual sort of last sort of mini story arc does feature Loki, and it features the Malekith, is it Malekith, the Dark Elf, who's actually going to be the main antagonist in the Thor the Dark World movie, and you can see him there on the back. So I'm really interested to see where they go with this, or what Walt Simonson takes the character. So I would, you know, if you're toying with the idea of getting into some more Thor stories with the up-and-coming movie, definitely go into this. Another run that I would highly recommend would be Jason Aaron's current run on Thor, which is fantastic as well, which is sort of very different in its own way, but this is a terrific run. I would highly recommend it. I enjoyed reading it, enjoyed every minute of it, and can't wait to read the next few books.